Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of Liberating Louisville, a series where I go through Louisville on insane zombie pop and eliminate all zombies in the city. A recap from where we left off last. We managed to escape our spawn house and make it to the outskirts of a small neighborhood in the southeast. From there, we began branching north towards the mall and discovered a fire station which we were able to clear out and loot before making the decision to head all the way back and claim it as our new home. Today, we're going to not only move into the fire station, but we'll also spend some time securing the surrounding cells and begin working on fortifications for whenever any heli events spawn. If you're new or just don't remember, heli events are set to sometimes instead of once to give an added sense of danger. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get into it. Hopping into things, today was the big moving day, and if you think that's boring, just hang on, because while unloading my van, I got a little audio cue. What absolutely perfect timing to start off a video with. Panicking, I wasn't really thinking on my feet, so I just started baiting all the zombies into the music festival grounds. This worked, at least in theory, as I could get them away from the fire station, but what I didn't think about at the time was that it only expanded the heli range, and only ended up pulling more zombies toward me because of that. And I spent the next few hours looping around the inside of the festival grounds, waiting for the event to pass. Finally, when I thought it had flown away, I began moving back towards the fire station. And as if this game wasn't bending me over enough already, as soon as I got onto the main road, the fucking thing came back, pulling even more zombies over. And at this point, most of the cell was completely overrun, so I looped behind the fire station and then hopped the dog fences to get inside the garage, where several zombies were waiting for me. After taking them out, I ran upstairs and began unpacking while praying other zombies didn't hear me. And at this point, the first heli event had officially ended, but I had heard glass breaking downstairs, meaning that at least a few more zombies had gotten inside and were looking for me. I was getting tired, so I decided to just play it safe and hide out upstairs for the rest of the day, dipping back into the medical room and falling asleep there. First things first, I need to secure the area. The heli event brought hundreds of zombies, and I need to figure out just how much damage was done. And after waking up the next morning, I geared up and walked downstairs, and to my surprise, the station was mostly clear, with only a couple zombies hanging around the fitness room. After looting the large backpack from a corpse, I swapped my gear out upstairs before venturing outside. And at first glance, there's not nearly as many zombies as I was expecting, at least on the eastern side of the station. I chose to just start with the construction site and work my way west around the building since it seems like most of the closest zombies are in this part of the cell. I know there's a ton of them hanging around the campground that I'll have to deal with eventually, but I'll need better gear before I start that project up. This was pretty simple work though, all things considered. There were no real hordes, just a couple groups hanging around that I was able to take out relatively easily. After dropping off some loot and resting up, I pushed west down the road. The second group in the west had a zombie survivor that I was able to loot a gas mask and a bandolier from, which made me feel like a badass. I made a stupid play at around noon when I was trying to get in through the back door, without checking first, and got insanely lucky when I got grabbed but managed to get away with only a scratch on the neck. Nothing too exciting happened after that. I found a liquor store and was able to loot 7 bottles of bourbon, which I could use as Molotovs, but when I went to leave, I walked into a smaller horde, and not having the stamina to fight them, I chose to fall back to the construction site and loop around back into the station where I rested up for the rest of the day, reading some skill books to pass the time. At around 9 p.m., I heard more glass shatter, meaning more zombies were entering the fire station that I'd have to deal with tomorrow. Or today, since they want to stare at me creepily from across the room. For some reason, I keep getting the feeling that the zombies think the fitness room is their own personal group workout class. Today was basically the same as yesterday in terms of objective. I need to get the zombie situation under control if I want to have any chance of long-term survival here. On top of that, the power's gonna go out soon, so I'll need my rain collectors, some fuel, and a generator magazine before I consider myself truly set up. I spent most of the morning and early afternoon clearing out and looting the half-built houses nearby. I know I touched on it last episode, but it's still catching me off guard with just how many zombies are in each house. I was expecting maybe 1 to 3 zombies in every building here, and somehow there's just like 15 mulling around. After a few hours of repeating this process, I came away with a couple more weapons, some crafting materials, and 2 welder masks. As I was headed back to the fire station, I got ambushed by a horde waiting outside of the entrance. I was in no position to fight them, so I baited them east on the other side of the fire station and lost them over by the porta potty. At this point, it was raining out, and I still had my water barrels back in the neighborhood. Now, I wanted to get them moved up here, but there really wasn't a point since they'd most likely be destroyed by zombies anyway before I could use them. So I chose to leave them there for now and would have to head back another time to pick them up. After resting up, it was only 5 o'clock, so I decided to head back out and finish off the horde that I had baited around earlier by forming a crowbar conga line and letting them walk directly into my swings. And after that was done, there was really only one other group left to deal with, and that was the zombies hanging around the tennis courts. Now, my favorite moment of this instance was that I found Tammy from the 1,000-Pound Sisters just mulling around the tennis courts. Today was probably my riskiest day. I don't know how much longer I'm going to have power for, and I have low fuel in both vehicles, all my cans are empty, and my generator is empty. In short, I need fuel. There's a gas station a little up the road that I needed to take a chance on, and I chose today to do so. My plan was simple in theory. I started off by grabbing most of the zombies by honking my horn, and then luring them into the mall parking lot. From there, I circled back through an alley and parked the van by the gas pumps, where I got out and started taking on the stragglers. What I didn't anticipate, however, was the wandering hordes that had begun making their way over, forcing me to wrap around the dentistry. On my second attempt, I started off hot, but ended up attracting more zombies again, forcing me east through a back door and directly into a group of zombies inside. This was pretty stressful, but it was either fight the zombies inside or die outside, so I took my chances, did the Ash Ketchum hat flip, and got to work. The next sequence is pure chaos, so I'll just let it play out sped up because it'll do a better job showcasing the events that unfold. Crazy enough, this wasn't even the end of the day. When I finally got back to the fire station that night, a horde had gathered out front, forcing me to confront them before I could get some rest, which turned into an event in and of itself. I wanted today to be my final day of zombie clearing, so I got to work early. The goal was to wrap this up so I can start working on building out fortifications for when the next heli event takes place. I did get a big win early today when I found a shotgun on a zombie. Now, all I need is some ammo and we'll be set to start leveling aiming. At 7 AM, the zombies began implementing Viet Cong tactics and came out of the trees to nearly end my run. Other than that, it was generally more the same. I did a loop around the perimeter and pushed pretty far outside of my base to try and find any hidden groups just sitting around. The next few days are pretty boring, so I'm just going to lump them all together. I spent most of this time just cutting down trees, using sheet rope to create stacks of logs, and then moving them outside of the fire station. I needed a shit ton of logs to build out my fortress, so that's what I did, outside of fighting the occasional zombies that would wander over to see what this lunatic with an axe was up to. I'll have some clips on screen now, but it was basically just the same thing all day, every day. Eventually, I realized I was making this way more complicated than it needed to be, and just drove the van out into the woods. After chopping down a ton of trees, I'd stack the logs near the van and then load them in. Fill my inventory, and drive back to base instead of taking 5 stacks at a time. Now the real unspoken hero here was my maintenance skill, which was level 5 when I started, meaning I could spend multiple days cutting down trees before breaking a single wooden axe. I think the most annoying portion of this project wasn't even the whole chopping trees down. No. It was all the fucking zombies that would just wander over. Normally not a problem until you piece together that I'm at max exertion and almost always tired in some capacity since I'm literally just chopping down trees for 12 plus hours a day, which means it takes like an hour in game to kill a single zombie. Finally, after 3 days of chopping trees, I began prep work on walling in the fire station. Now I'll need a couple levels still and some hinges to make gates, but I should be able to get the walls up with no problem. I'm not planning on doing anything special right now, just placing log walls along the perimeter. Eventually, I'll add stairs and a walkway along the wall to monitor and take out any zombies that wander over, but the walls should be more than enough for now as long as no heli events trigger. Oh, this is completely unrelated, but I also collected like 41 tree branches to use as spears if I really become desperate enough for weapons. I probably won't need them, but you never know. Now, building the wall took most of the day, but I was able to complete the entire process by that evening. All I need now are some gates, which I need another level and a half in carpentry to get to. After securing the perimeter, I turned inward for some additional protection by closing any choke points or open windows. I plugged all the windows in the fitness room and built out frames in the main hallway. The next day, I went out and smashed some doors for hinges and doorknobs, which I used to build out 2 doors in the main hallway and garage entrance. After that, I gathered a ton of planks and built level 2 walls in the interior before wrapping up my day by barricading all of the windows in the garage. So far, we're at 831 kills after surviving for just under 20 days. Here's what my skills look like if you're interested in that. We added levels in sneaking, light-footed, short blunt, long blunt, and maintenance this video, and I'll look to keep grinding blunt weapons since they're the most readily available, and there's buildings we're going to look to hit up which should give us enough long blunt weapons to carry through the rest of the series. All we have left to do for our base is build some gates and find a generator magazine so that we'll have power, which I'm amazed the power is still on at this point, but anyway, we're definitely on borrowed time here. Next episode, we'll look to secure that Jenny mag and potentially look into getting us some firepower, but that's going to do it for now. Thank you to my YouTube members who give me the hammer and nails needed to barricade my feelings. I really appreciate you all, and as always, thanks for stopping by.